Okay, what you'll need is for this project is you will need the pattern from Amigurumi Today to make the elephant head, and I did tweak that a little bit, and I'll put that in the description where just click on where it says more. And then you will need this edger, this crochet edge thing, Kay's Crochet, and I will put the link in there. It's on Amazon, and this is what it looks like. So it goes into a rotary cutter, and then you will need some button tape, and let me turn that around. So this is dual duty. I get it at Walmart. I think I had to send for it. This color is beige. The color doesn't matter that much. I wouldn't get anything dark unless you're working on something dark. And then I used blanket yarn on this one. I am not going to use blanket yarn. I am going to actually start it with this I Love You yarn that I got at Hobby Lobby. The blanket yarn was the Bernet yarn, and on the blanket yarn, if you want to use that, I used a 4.0 crochet hook, and I did 1 and then 2 in the next one, 1, 2. So I did 1 and creased all the way around, except for each corner. I did 2, then 3 in the middle, and then 2 on each side. And you can even do 2, 2, 3, 2, 2. So just make the sides even on the rounded part. And then I just put this to tie everything in. I put the I Love You yarn. But on the next one, I am going to use size 4. Now, this was a size 3 baby yarn, and I think it was Bernet also. And I will do another video on how to do these eyes if you're interested in that. One thing I must stress is when you do these loveys or any kind of amigurumi for a child under 3, please do not use safety eyes. They are not safe. No matter how safe they say they are not. Please embroider the eyes. Okay, so I don't know what happened. I was showing you that you can round off the edges by quarter fold, and then just round off the edge if you're, I just did it by eyeballing it. It's easy to do, so just go make your edges round. And then I was saying that you could go ahead and use a serger if you have a serger. Otherwise, I used this stitch here, the one that's blue, on my sewing machine. And I do have an electronic machine, so this is what I'm going to start with, and this is what I actually did start with. I don't know what happened. I obviously pressed the wrong button or something. Okay, so what I'm doing is going around, and what I was saying was that there is a stretchier edge to this, and then there is an edge that isn't quite as stretchy, and that is much easier to work with if you're just on a sewing machine. With a serger, you shouldn't have too many problems, but as you go around and you have those stretchier sides, it's going to want to pull off, so you can just go ahead and adjust as you need to. So go all the way around with this stitch. And it's basically just a serger stitch on your sewing machine. It's just an edge stitch, and I use it when I do clothing. I use it on all of my seams to get all the seams so that they have a nice finish, especially if I'm going to sell the clothes. But I do it also for my family. I make sure that all the edges are finished like this. I used to have a serger, but as you get older, your eyes get really bad, and especially back then, that would have been back in the late 90s, and it was really, really hard to thread that machine, and it didn't want to stay threaded, it didn't stay right. I don't think I paid probably a lot. It probably wasn't the best serger, but I ended up selling it a couple years later because I just couldn't get it threaded even back then, and when I was only in my 50s, but I was already having the eye problems, so that's a thing to keep in mind. I know nowadays they do have sergers that thread themselves. They're very expensive, but if I did more sewing and if the kids were still little, but now they're not so much where I'm making dresses and everything for the great-grandkids anymore. So there was the first. So you can see the edge stitch here. So I've stitched it all the way around, and all this is doing is this is helping the edge. We're still going to use the tool, or you can use a piercing tool, but that would take forever. And so we're still going to use our tool to make the holes. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a straight stitch. So I'm going to go back to my beginning, and I'm just going to take I'm actually going to use just a straight stitch like this, or you can use this stitch, which I was thinking, and I think I will use this stitch. So you can use that, and these are heavier stitches. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go as close as I can. I'm going to start again, and it doesn't matter where you start. You don't have to start where you were. And I'm just going to take the sewing machine foot, and I'm going to go ahead and set that down, put my machine down, and I'm just going to kind of run. It's pretty close though, so this one I'm going to have to go off a little bit. I think I'll run it, I'm going to run it right along the edge, if you can see that edge of the serger stitch, and I'm going to put the foot right along the edge of that, and that'll give me my opening in, yeah, that's good. And with this stitch, it also stops it from stretching. And not stops it from stretching, but it is a stretch stitch. So I use this for just about any kind of stretch fabric that I ever stitch on. So just go all the way around with that. And then while I'm here, the pattern that I use for the elephant, and I did get this fabric at Walmart, and I had already made I made another blanket, I'll show you that in a minute, or excuse me, lovey, and then I also made a quilt, and I use this for the backing, because I make my quilts with felt backs, and that, especially seeing we live in the desert, we don't need real warm blankets, so this alleviates having to put in the sandwich in the middle and putting in the, whatever you call it, I forgot what you call it now, but this alleviates that on any of your quilts. So you can make a quilt, a baby quilt, and match it with the lovey. But anyway, so the pattern I use for the elephant is on Amigurumi Today, which has a lot of free patterns. You do have to sign up with an email, and you do have to sign in every time to actually get the pattern. So I'll put a link to the elephant. The only thing that I do different is I make it a little bit smaller. I do use a 2.5 crochet hook, and I do, you can use any kind of yarn. It makes it much smaller, of course, if you use a size 3 yarn, but I have used a size 4, but I only do, if I use a size 4, I may only go 36 stitches, and they have it at 48 for the head. You're just making the head. You're not making the body. So you're making the head, the ears, and the arms on that. And, you know, just put it together the way the Amigurumi Today shows it. But I do 42, and then I skip the next, where it says, you know, to decrease to 48. So I skip that, and then I just go on to the next one where you decrease for 42. And I just do it on 42. That's the only change, and I do the arms a little bit longer. I want the arms long enough so that the baby can get a hold of it, because that's what's nice about these loveys. And with the fleece, it's nice that, you know, with the lovey, with the fleece, that you can, you know, that it's soft. So it's softer than the yarn, and it's not quite as heavy either for the baby. So if you make the arms a little bit longer, then the baby can grasp the arms. And I actually did my arms, I did the 12, the first 3, first 4. So I did it at 6, and then I did it, you know, doubled to 12. And then then it was 4 more at 12. And then I decreased it right away to 10, and I did not decrease it to 8. And that made it a little bit too skinny, and I don't like to work with skinny stuff, so I decreased it to that. So I will go over now and show you how to do the tool. Okay, so I measured off, I'm going to pull this back. So I measured off on each corner, still not showing it very well. Here we go. Put this back a little bit. Okay, so 3 inches is what I'm doing. I'm doing a 3-inch across on each of the rounded edges, and then I am marking at 1.5, at 2 and 2.5, and then on the other side at the 1 and at the 1/2 inch, and just make a mark there, because when we do the edge, and I do have I have an 18-inch ruler, and these rulers do have like a cork back, so that helps to hold it. So I have already done the holes because I messed up the video. So basically what I'm doing is I am laying the ruler just over our second stitching. And then I am taking the tool, so you want it out, make sure your tool is out, and you're wanting to do it only from that last line here to that last line here. Now you will need something to pierce. You can use an ice pick. I do have a piercing tool that I got. It doesn't work all that well. You could use a very fine point scissors. I've also used one of the heavier needles that I use to put the yarn through the heavier crochet hook, crochet needles that you use that. So you want to do that on each side. So all 4 sides, and I do suggest marking your first side so that you know in case somebody interrupts you, because it is hard to see the holes, but you can see the holes. I mean, if you do, somebody does interrupt you or you forget to mark it, you can see the holes and see still. So make sure it's still kind of on the stitching. I got it a little bit on the stitching, so try to keep it in between those two as close as you can. So I can still see that the tool went somewhat. So try to keep it in between there. It's not that hard to do if you just put it over. I just probably, the tool probably goes a little bit farther. So that's how you do the holes. And then, like I said, we're going to pierce these. Then what I did, depending on your yarn, sometimes I put 2 to 3 in each hole, depending on how thick your yarn is. And with I would probably use a size 3 because I am going to use the yarn that I used on the edge of this. I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby, and it's got that sparkle in it, and it's a silver, so I wanted it to kind of blend in, you know, put this, because these colors aren't exactly in here. So I thought the silver at the end would that match up with the elephant, but it turned out, I think it still looks cute with the blues and the greens, so I think it's good. So that's up to you, but I am going to use the size 4 yarn, and it is basically, I believe the I Love You yarn is between a 3 and a 4, so it's a little bit thinner than the regular Red Heart size. We're using Red Heart. I would still use a 3, and you probably only need to put 2 in each one. On the blanket yarn, I put 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Corners, okay, so you want to put, you're going to end here. That's going to be probably 1, but you can put 2 if you want there too, and so you've got 5 marks. And then you need to make sure that you do 2 and 2 and 3. So you're going to have 7 total, but your middle is going to have 3. So you'll have 3, and this is all single crochet. And then the next rows I do double crochet. So but on the first row, to keep everything a little better, I do single crochet because it ties it in a little bit better. So that's how you do those holes in the yarn. And like I said, I'll put everything, links in the information section. Just click on more and it'll all be in there. And I do tweak the pattern a little bit, and I will put that in there also. Have a wonderful day and keep yourself safe.